Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the San Martin SN0144-GX Jian Zhan. This watch is available from skbwatches.com for €289. You can use the discount code WR4K15 to get €15 discount off any watch over €100 on skbwatches.com. So if you use the WR4K15 discount code on this piece, it will reduce the price from €289 down to €274 respectively. So firstly, let's look at the case that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the watch comes in this San Martin branded watch case, which is made from vinyl or PU leather. Flawless stitching around the edges. It has a zip securing the lid, so I'll show you the interior. The interior is fully upholstered with a lighter green velour fabric to a good standard, and the base is also fully upholstered with a green velour fabric to a good standard, so good presentation, good quality hard shell travel case. The watch sits inside on a padded pillow cushion, which is also velour fabric upholstered to a good standard, so good presentation. This is higher quality than the plastic tube style watch boxes that San Martin used to use. This is an upgrade and I like it. It's both good quality and also very aesthetically pleasing. So immediately one gets the impression that this SN0144-GX Jian Zhan is a high quality piece. With regards to the items that come with the piece, this is the owner's instruction manual, clear concise diagrams. The instructions are in English and it also details the operation of the movement used, which is the Miyota caliber 9015 automatic. One also gets this plastic warranty card, which has the San Martin hex emblem. On the reverse, it details the terms and conditions of the 2-year international warranty. It's stamped with San Martin Watch Company, filled in with the date of purchase and the reference number of the piece. I want to give due credit to San Martin here because often low-tier Chinese watch brands only cover their watches with a 12-month international warranty. This piece has 2 years of international warranty, which is excellent, and San Martin deserve full credit for that. One also gets this plastic tag, which has the San Martin emblem and San Martin text logo on both sides, which adds to the presentation. And one also gets this solid stainless steel 1.6mm flathead jeweler's screwdriver for resizing the links in the bracelet. I'm pleased to see that this is solid 316L grade stainless steel. Sometimes screwdrivers and also spring bar tools are made from mild steel, which is nickel plated to give the appearance of stainless steel. The problem is with wear and tear and use, the nickel plating wears off and then it reveals the bare metal beneath it, which is mild steel, and then that corrodes and rusts. But with using solid stainless steel, it's not going to corrode and it's very well finished. Precision ground flathead tip. Nailed shank is very well finished and the end of it has been chamfered very well, so no sharp edges to it. It is very grippy and tactile and it does suffice for resizing the bracelet. And lastly, one also gets this solid 316L grade stainless steel spring bar tool. Again, I'm pleased to see that this is solid stainless steel. It's not mild steel, which has been nickel plated to look like stainless steel. Nailed shank is very well finished. 2-prong fork at one end, and we've got a push pin at the other end. And this is good if you want to exchange the bracelet on the piece for an alternative strap. So good quality spring bar tool, nice to get that included. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, the SN0144 is available in 3 case sizes, 36, 39 and 42mm respectively. I've previously reviewed the 42mm version with the orange dial. This one is the red dial version and it's the 39, so the reference is SN0144-GX. The GX denotes its 39mm. So we have a 39mm case diameter, we have a lug-to-lug measurement of 46.4mm, a thickness of 10.2mm and a lug width of 20mm. The bracelet tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to 16mm at the 2-button push micro adjustment clasp. The micro adjustment clasp is signed with an applied San Martin hex, which is mirror polished with a matte speed blasted background to it. Very high quality finishing to the emblem, it's high definition and crisp. Beautiful luster to the brush satin finishing to the body, and that complements the longitudinal brush satin finishing to the flanks and also the pushers. Nice large mirror polished bevel, which marks the transition between the body and the flanks. No sharp edges to the top edge or the low edge. The 4 corners have been deburred and chamfered very well, which is good. And the undercut to the flanks of the micro adjustment clasp have also been deburred and chamfered very well. No sharp edges to any facet of this whatsoever. Quality of the finishing is excellent. We have a flat sapphire crystal with AR coating on the underside, and the anti-reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the glossy enamel dial, and also the silver mirror polished applied indices and silver mirror polished alpha handset. I want to give credit to San Martin here because the quality of the finishing, the mirror polishing to the indices and the hands on this piece are mid-tier level. So to clarify, this is a low-tier piece costing €274, but what you're looking at here is mid-tier level finishing to the indices and the handset. So to clarify, low tier is €0 to €500 price point, mid tier is €500 to €5,000 price point respectively. So what we're looking at here is mid tier level dial execution on a low tier price point piece. San Martin deserves full credit for that because it is outstanding. The enamel dial on this piece, which is Jian Zhan, it's inspired by Jian Zhan enamel porcelain. It does look high quality. This is the kind of dial finishing, dial execution one would expect on a Grand Seiko piece at the mid-tier price point of €5,000. That is what we're looking at here. The enamel dial has a glossy finish to it, and it's also a gradient dial, so the red is lighter in the centre and then it graduates to the circumference where the chaptering is with a white minute ticks to a black dark red colour. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's rather like a sunburst dial because it has a metallic sheen to it, but one can see that it's actually a glossy enamel dial rather than being a sunburst dial, and it's just absolutely mesmerising. I previously reviewed the orange version in 42mm. This red version is better looking. It's the greatest San Martin Jian Zhan dial they've produced. It's an absolute masterpiece. So with regards to the quality of the printing to the dial, I like the white minute ticks on the chaptering. They contrast very well with the gradient dial. Also like the applied silver San Martin hex emblem at 12 o'clock, and that the dial isn't over-branded with necessary text or specification. Just bear with me, I'll move the hand out of the way so you can see it better. Often low-tier Chinese brands have a tendency to over-brand the dial with unnecessary text and specification. The dial looks too busy, too cluttered. San Martin have got it correct. It simply says automatic and then 100M equals 330 feet, which is the water resistance rating. Just the right amount of information for a daily wear piece. Automatic and the water resistance rating, it's perfect. The dial is very well balanced. I like the symmetry. Rather than being an asymmetrical dial with a date complication at the date window at the default position of 3 o'clock, they've made it perfectly symmetrical with the date complication framed in silver at 6. One detail I really like about this piece is the colour-coded date wheel. Rather than just using the default option of a white date wheel with black Arabic numerals or a black date wheel with white Arabic numerals, they've colour-coded the date wheel to the same red colour as the enamel Jian Zhan dial. This is something that more brands should do because it really does enhance the piece. It does look more aesthetically pleasing to have a colour-coded date. The red date matches the red dial and it blends into the dial very well. Also, the silver framing is mirror polished around the date window and the silver mirror polishing complements the silver mirror polished indices. So I like the symmetry, I like the framing of the window, and I also like that the colour-coded date wheel matches the red dial. This is an example to other low-tier Chinese brands of how to get everything correct with regards to dial layout, quality of the dial, manufacture, and also aesthetically, the look of it, its perfection personified. Quality of the mirror polishing to the hands, which are alpha hands, is exceptional. It really is like Grand Seiko level finishing to the hands. The mirror polishing is absolutely flawless. Now to clarify, San Martin have a very strict quality control with their handsets. So to put this into perspective, often low-tier Chinese brands only have a rejection rate of 1 out of 10 hands. So for every 10 handsets, they only reject 1 out of 10. They pass 9. 9 handsets pass quality control. And therefore you'll often see QC defects with handsets on low-tier Chinese made watches, but San Martin have a very high quality control on the handsets. They only accept 3 out of 10 handsets, so they reject 7 and accept 3. And this is why you are looking at the very best of San Martin handsets, because these hands are only 3 out of 10 that have passed QC inspection. They reject 7 out of 10. And this is a difference between a San Martin piece and other low-tier Chinese brands. They have a higher rejection rate on the parts they're using. The dials, the hands, the bezels, the cases, the casebacks all have a similar rejection rate. They only allow 3 out of 10 to pass. So, with regards to the bezel, it's solid 316L grade stainless steel, flat bezel rather than being a domed profile to it. Concentric CNC lathe tool machining to the top facet of it, and then nice large mirror polished chamfer which deletes the sharp edge, and then the edge of it is also brushed satin finished to complement the flat brushed satin finished top facet. So Low profile bezel. I like the way the flat sapphire crystal projects above with a nice bevel which catches the light. San Martin have made the correct decision here because the benefit of this piece being powered by the Miyota 9015 is it's a low profile movement, it's thinner than the NH35A. So the benefit of that is they've reduced the thickness of this piece down to only 10.2 millimeters. If it were powered by the NH35A, it would be 13 millimeters. The other thing they've made the correct decision on is they haven't used a double dome sapphire crystal or a boxed top hat crystal. Often low-tier Chinese brands make the mistake of using a boxed top hat crystal to give the piece a vintage aesthetic, but the negative of that is it adds 2mm of thickness to the piece, and when it uses the NH35A, it often makes the watch 13mm plus thick. So that reduces the feel-good factor and the comfort level because it feels top-heavy, feels too thick on the wrist, especially for a 39mm. This piece is only 10.2 because it has a flat sapphire crystal rather than a box top hat crystal, which is good. And I like the way it's very low profile and it projects above the top edge of the low profile flat stainless steel bezel. So correct decision after correct decision. The case is also nice and slender. The flanks to the case are low profile, they're not tall slab-sided flanks. Again, this is something that's often low-tier Chinese brands make the mistake of. They use the NH35A and they make the case very thick. The flanks to the case are tall and slab-sided, rather like a Tudor Black Bay Heritage, rather than being low profile and slender as per a Rolex piece. And this is the refinement that I like about this piece, the Jian Zhan, because the flanks are very low profile and it does enhance the comfort level and the feel good factor. The case back is also flat and low profile versus being a bubble back case back. Another thing I like, and again it's the correct decision they've made, is the profile of the Rehort is low profile and slender. Now, this is the benefit again of using the 9015, which is a premium grade of Miyota caliber, versus the Seiko NH35A. Often it's the case with low-tier Chinese brands. They use the NH35A, which has a taller hand stack height on the cannon pinion, and therefore the hand stack height, the second hand, needs additional clearance between the underside of the sapphire crystal and the second hand to prevent the second hand fouling the underside of the sapphire crystal. So what the Chinese brands do is they make a very deep Rehort to sink the dial deep away from the crystal and give adequate clearance above the top of the cannon pinion and the second hand. The problem with that is they have the very deep Rehort, and it's notable because the dial is sunk very deep beneath the sapphire crystal. San Martin have got it correct here, because if you look at the Rehort, which is brushed satin finished stainless steel, you can see it's very slender, it's very low profile, and this is what I really like about the 9015. The case can be made thinner, it's only 10.2mm, and it is still 100 meters water resistant, but the Rehort can also be made very slender because the 9015 has a lower hand stack height on the cannon pinion versus the hand stack height of the NH35A respectively. It's lower profile, it's a thinner caliber. And San Martin have really utilised that benefit of it being thinner. This piece is 10.1 as a result. So let's look at the bracelet and end links in detail. So male end links. Now this is the one negative, or the one thing I would like to change about this piece. Now I'm not going to be critical of it because they've done a very good job of the quality control, builds quality, machining and tolerances. Articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, so that's the benefit. Doesn't have excess play in any direction. The tolerances are nice and tight, which is good. But I think this piece could be further enhanced by using female pivoted end links rather than male end links, because if you look at the centre section, which is like a rectangular slab of 316L grade stainless steel, the end links are solid, but it does have this large portion, a large rectangle slab of stainless steel. I would like if there was a line across it and it was a female pivoted end link as per a Tudor Black Bay 58 for example, because that would allow the end link in the bracelet to articulate more. For example, the end link in the bracelet could pivot beneath the tips of the lugs and therefore enhance the fits, because these links are quite large, as you can see. And I think it would look better, both visually, aesthetically it would look better, but also in terms of feel-good factor and comfort level, the fits could be enhanced with female pivoted end links. But however, this is subjective. Some collectors like the male end links, the profiling of it with the SN0144 series, and it does fit the profiling of the lugs very well. Quality of the profiling is very good. The curvature of the solid end links matches the curvature of the tips of the lugs very well. So they have done a very good job of the profiling. Beautiful lustre to the solid links, and also we've got these large mirror polished bevels on the centre link. So it is very well finished, although I think female pivoted end links would fit better. But the articulation is good, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excessive play, so quality control is good. Beautiful luster to the bracelet links. Now I want to give due credit to San Martin here, because what we're looking at is peak San Martin. Sometimes San Martin pieces are known for having sharp edges to the flanks. The top edge and the low edge of the flanks have sharp edges, and it is a very crisp, sharp edge. Now the negative is that scratches the wrist, it feels sharp. This piece is refined. If I had to use one word to describe it, it would be refinements, because you can see on the top edge of the flank, they've machined this large mirror polished bevel. That deletes the sharp edge on the top edge of the flank. Also has a large chamfer to the edge, or bevel to the edge of the undercut to the flank, and that means it doesn't have the characteristic sharp edge that often San Martin bracelets do have, because they have very crisp, sharp edge finishing. So this is refined, it's high level finishing, and again what we're looking at here with regards to the bracelet finishing is mid-tier level finishing on a low tier price point piece. Mid-tier is €500 to €5,000 price point. This is €274, it's low tier, but we're looking at a high tier finishing level. Brushed satin finishing has a nice fine grained finish, beautiful luster to it. I like the large mirror polished bevels on the edges of the centre links and the large mirror polished bevels to the edges to the flanks. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Also, what we're looking at is correct decision after correct decision, because it's got the perfection personified taper that I often refer to in my previous reviews. 20 to 16 visually is very aesthetically pleasing, but it also feels balanced. The head of the piece perfectly balances the micro adjustment clasp. The bracelet does have enough meat on it to look aesthetically pleasing, but without being too thick and therefore feeling uncomfortable. So 20 to 16 is sublime, it's perfection personified, looks good, feels good. The bracelet links aren't too thick and they're also not too wide. The taper is gradual. It's fantastic for a 39mm head of the piece. Right, so let's look at the clasp in detail. Solid 316L grade stainless steel milled clasp, micro adjustment clasp, which is excellent. Beautiful luster to the body, and that complements the beautiful luster to the flanks. Nice large mirror polished bevels, no sharp edges, doesn't have sharp corners. It's been finished to perfection. Again, this is a mid-tier level clasp on a low tier price point piece. Two button push triggers are correctly proportioned, and they're brushed satin finished, deburred and chamfered very well, no sharp edges. Nice robust heavy spring loaded action. I like the action of the two pushers. Solid mill 316L grade stainless steel internals, and beautiful luster to the brushed satin finishing to the top side, underside and flanks. Doesn't have any sharp edges to the centre section, which is good. Let's check the hinge pins. Left hand hinge pin articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excessive play, feels nice and tight. This is an example to other low tier Chinese brands of how to get build quality, quality control and finishing of bracelet pins correct. It feels nice and tight, nice interference friction fit, doesn't feel sloppy, doesn't feel loose, but articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink. It's perfect. Let's check the centre pin, which is riveted at the ends. Again, articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excess play, nice and tight, friction interference fit. It's perfect. Finally, let's check the right hand hinge pin, which is actually a spring bar. Again, articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excess play in any direction, feels nice and tight. It's correct, the tolerances are refined. So, all three hinge pins are excellent. Left hand, centre and right hand pin, they feel tight, interference friction fit, feels smooth, articulates freely, but doesn't feel sloppy. This is fantastic. It's peak San Martin finishing. One detail I like is the undercuts to the flanks are deburred and chamfered very well. No sharp edges to the edges to both the top side and the underside to the flanks of the solid milled internals. So again, this is refined. Sometimes San Martin solid milled 316L grade stainless steel clasps are known for having sharp edges either on the top edge or the lower edge of the flanks. This does not have it. They've refined the finishing to the bracelet clasp, as you can see, no sharp edges whatsoever, doesn't scratch the wrist, feels good, looks good, beautiful luster to it. It's fantastic, one of the greatest San Martin clasps ever made. Now, as you can see, it's got a micro adjustment mechanism which is rather like a Rolex glide lock clasp, and this works very well. Nice positive click when it deploys, slides up and down freely. Now, it doesn't feel as smooth as a Rolex glide lock because A Rolex Glide Lock has two oyster steel pads, and the pads are Teflon coated. So of course, Teflon reduces the friction of the 904L oyster steel rubbing against the 904 oyster steel. So the two oyster steel pads would create friction rubbing against the body, which is also 904L oyster steel. So what Rolex do is they put Teflon pads on the sliders, and that enhances the Rolex Glide Lock. It makes it very smooth. What we've got here is more friction because we don't have Teflon pads on the sliders. It's simply 316L grade stainless steel sliders rubbing against the body, which is also 316L grade stainless steel. So one can feel the friction of metal to metal rather than Teflon, but although it's not as silky smooth as a Rolex Glide Lock in terms of refinement, it does slide up and down very smoothly. 10mm of adjustment, clicks in with a nice positive click, deploys with a nice positive click, and it works very well. Every one of the clicks has a nice, satisfying, loud, audible click. It snaps in with a positive snapping click, and it deploys with a nice positive click. Feels good, works well. On full extension, doesn't rattle. The end link is a nice tight fit inside the body, so it's not sloppy, which is good. And on minimum, it also doesn't rattle. Nice, tight refinement. This is excellent. This is one of the best micro adjustment clasp I have seen. And on a low tier piece, it's excellent. This really is a mid-tier quality, €500 to €5,000 price point piece. This is the kind of mid-tier clasp one expects at that price point, 500 to 5,000. But it's not a mid-tier price point piece. This is only €274. So we're getting a mid-tier level micro adjustment clasp like a Rolex Glide Lock clasp at only €274. It's fantastic. Refined, well finished, no sharp edges, works well, 10mm is good. I like everything about it. One of the best micro adjustment clasps I've experienced in the low tier. Right, so let's look at the case back in detail. So, as I've detailed, this piece is inspired by Jian Zhan porcelain. And Jian Zhan porcelain has a mark on the back which is known as a seal script. So, Jian Zhan porcelain has the Jian Zhan seal script, but of course this isn't a piece of porcelain, it's a watch. So San Martin have created their own seal script. So this isn't the Jian Zhan seal script, it's the San Martin seal script, but it's in the style of a Jian Zhan porcelain script. And it's very nice, as you can see. It's got a matte textured finish to the background, and the seal script, which is San Martin, is mirror polished. It's embossed. Nice 3D effect. So this isn't engraved, it's embossed and it's formed with hydraulic pressing. The benefit of using hydraulic pressing versus engraving for the embossing is it doesn't have any sharp edges. The embossed seal script doesn't have any sharp rough edges to it, doesn't scratch the wrist, doesn't feel rough, it feels nice and smooth, and they've mirror polished it very well. So the characters, which are in Mandarin on the seal script, are mirror polished to perfection. Also the square around it is mirror polished to perfection. Nice 3D effect to it. The textured background looks aesthetically pleasing, and the mirror polished seal script also adds interest. They've also got this circle around the circumference, which is mirror polished to a flawless standard and engraved with the specification and reference number of the piece. Quality of the caseback finishing is fantastic. The outer circumference is concentric CNC lathe tool machined. The milled slots are deburred and chamfered very well. Now, above all else, what I really like about it is, as I've detailed, it's not a bubble back caseback. This is the benefit of using the Miyota 9015, which is a premium caliber, because it is thinner than the NH35A. It's a lower profile caliber, and the benefit is it doesn't need a deep bubble back caseback in order to provide adequate clearance around the rotor. The Miyota 9015 is low profile with a low profile rotor. It's flat, so therefore it doesn't need a bubble back caseback. This is nice and flat. It provides 100 meters of hermetic seal, which is perfectly acceptable for a daily wear piece, but you can see just how flat the center section is. This slims down the piece down to only 10.2. Bear in mind, if this were powered by the NH35A, it would be 13 millimeters thick. 10.2 is outstanding for a 100 meter water resistant piece, perfect for a daily wear piece. The comfort level and feel good factor are enhanced, and also, as I've detailed, the flanks to the case aren't slab sided and too thick. The case is low profile, case back is low profile, flat sapphire crystal is the correct choice, also low profile. It's not a 2mm thick box top hat crystal, making this 13. What we're looking at is correct decision after correct decision here. San Martin have got it right. The solid end links, which are male end links rather than female pivoted end links, are a good tight fit to the head of the piece. They're finished to perfection. The underside thread of the piece has concentric CNC lathe tool machining, beautiful lustre to it. The undercuts to the flanks have nice large chamfers. Now I want to give due credit to San Martin here, because if you look at the undercuts to the flanks, they've machined these large bevels on the edges, and this is something one doesn't see on other models. For example, on the San Martin SN0144-G, which is the Submariner date homage, or alternatively the SN004G, which is the Black Bay 58 homage, they have sharp, crisp edges to the undercuts to the flanks. Now, the problem with that is sometimes San Martin cases on the undercuts to the flanks, they have this sharp, crisp edge, and it feels sharp against the wrist. It feels rough, it scratches. But you can see they've refined this piece. The SN0144 series does not have that problem of the sharp, crisp undercut to the flank. They've machined this large mirror polished bevel, which is 1mm wide, the full length of the flank. Now the benefit of that is this enhances comfort level and feel good factor, because the large 1mm wide bevel, which runs from the tip of the lug to the tip of the lug, this deletes the sharp edge that they're known for having on the SN017G and the SN004G respectively. It doesn't have it. Large mirror polished bevel, and it feels very smooth. No sharp edges to it whatsoever. So against the wrist, this feels fantastic. It's sublime comfort level. Feel good factor is enhanced, comfort level is enhanced. So if I had to choose one word, as I've detailed, refinement. That sums this piece up. It is a refined piece. We're looking at peak San Martin finishing here. Right, so let's test the screw down crown execution. Solid 316L grade stainless steel crown, coin edge finished, nice large chamfer which deletes the sharp tips to the teeth, and it's engraved with the San Martin hex emblem, as you can see. The mirror polished hex emblem is mirror polished to a good standard with a matte speed blasted background to it, so high quality finishing. Nice to see a signed crown which is well finished. It's correctly proportioned, slightly recessed into the right hand flank, which is good. Doesn't stick too far proud from the right hand flank, but it is large enough to be grippy and tactile, so it's easy to get good purchase on it with your index finger and thumb. So let's test the execution. Silky smooth. This is sublime screw down crown execution. Again, we're looking at peak San Martin here. Quality control, build quality, tolerances are all 10 out of 10. They could not improve upon this. It is silky smooth. Minimal number of turns required to unscrew it. So when it's fully unscrewed, we're now in the manual wind position, and one can manually wind the Miyota Caliber 9015 automatic to its maximum 42-hour power reserve. Feels nice and firm. It's a characteristic of the 9015. It feels firmer to manually wind than a Seiko NH35A, which you will all be familiar with. One can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up. Now, it doesn't feel rough or gritty. It feels smooth, but it does have a lot of tension. It feels like the mainspring has more tension than a NH35A, which has a lighter feeling to it. Feels very smooth to manually wind, feels pleasant. I like the smoothness of it, but you can really feel the tension building up quickly. So the mainspring feels heavily sprung loaded, much heavier than an NH35A, but it does feel refined. The gearing feels like it meshes well, feels nice and smooth, and you can clearly feel that this is a premium grade of Miyota caliber. It feels smoother to manually wind than the lower grade of Miyota calibers in the 8000 series, such as the 8215, which you'll be familiar with. The 9000 series is far more refined. The 9015 and 9039 are personal favourites of mine, as you'll know from my previous reviews. Feels very good to manually wind. Pulling it out to the first click position is the quick set date complication. So if you look at the date window at 6 o'clock, you can see it clicks over with a nice positive click. It feels light. So to put this into perspective, the quick set complication for the date clicks over much lighter than an NH35A, which you'll all be familiar with. The NH35A has a very heavy clicking feeling to it. Each day of the month clicks over with a solid, heavy click. You can feel it, but this feels lighter. It feels more refined, and I like it. It feels smooth. It feels very similar to a Sellita SW200-1 or an ETA 2824-2. They also have this refined, light clicking feeling. The alignment is correct. Both the single and the double Arabic numerals are correctly aligned in the silver mirror polished date window, the framing. They're not too far to the left, and they're not too high or too low in the framed date window. Quality of the printing is excellent. The white Arabic numerals contrast very well with the colour-coded red date wheel, and the legibility is good. And I'm pleased to see that, because often the default option is a white date wheel with black Arabic numerals, or alternatively a black date wheel with white Arabic numerals, because they give very good legibility. But this uses a colour-coded red date wheel with white Arabic numerals, but the legibility is still good. What I like about it is the dial isn't too thick. Often low-tier Chinese brands make the dials too thick, especially when they use textured dials, which are oil pressed. Now the problem with that is they have a very thick dial and then they put a deep framing around the date window. That creates a permanent shadow on the date window and it reduces the legibility, the clarity is diminished. San Martin have got this correct because the dial, although it's enamel, is thin and the framing of the date window in silver is not too deep, it's not too thick, so the frame doesn't create this permanent dark shadow around the dates, therefore diminishing the legibility, because you can see although it's a red colour, which is like the enamel dial, it is legible. So I like it. The white fabric numerals are crisp, the font is nice and sharp, the singles and the doubles are aligned correctly, and also the legibility is good. You can easily read it, that's the point. It's not a dark shadowed date window. Putting it out to the second click position hacks the movement, and if you look at the second hand you can see it's now stopped dead, so therefore it's possible to set the time precisely to the second with the Miyota Caliber 9015 automatic. Feels nice and smooth, clockwise and anti-clockwise when you cycle through the 12 hours. I really like the refinements. You can feel the meshing of the gearing feels refined, the build quality, quality control and tolerances are excellent with a premium grade 9000 series caliber. Minimal backplay to the alpha hands. When you rotate the coin edge crown, there's an almost immediate response to the alpha minute hand. You can see there's minimal backplay. Feels more refined, feels tighter than an NH35A, feels more like a Solita SW200-1 or an ETA 2824-2. The 9015 is an outstanding caliber. It's one of my personal favourites because of the refinement. The machining, the tolerances, the build quality, the materials, the accuracy, it's fantastic. So it feels very pleasant to set the time, nice and smooth, minimal backplay. Pushing back in the crown's got a nice positive click and that restarts the movement. You can see it begins to tick around the dial once again. Now, the thing I really like about this is it runs at 4 Hz. You'll know from my previous reviews that subjectively I'm critical of the NH35A because it runs at 3 Hz or 21,600 vibrations per hour. The negative subjectively of that is the NH35A has a second hand which stutters or judders around the dial. This 9015 has a smoother 4 Hz sweep because it runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and it's got that characteristic smoother 4 Hz sweep which is more aesthetically pleasing and I really like it. I like the smooth sweep. So let's test screwing the crown back down. Instant thread pickup. This is a perfect interface between the internal thread of the stainless steel crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. It's refined. Sublime screw down crown execution. Feels good to manually wind, feels good to hack the movement, set the time, and unscrewing the crown and screwing it back down feels silky smooth. It's fantastic. San Martin deserve credit. This is an example to other low tier Chinese brands of how to get screw down crown execution perfected. They could not improve upon this, and really what we're looking at here is a mid-tier level screw down crown, €500 to €5,000 price point mid-tier quality on a low tier piece costing €274. Right, so I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now I haven't sized the bracelet and we're now on the maximum micro adjustment on the micro adjustment clasp, so this is its absolute maximum. I can easily slide an index finger beneath the bracelet and clasp at all times. That indicates that this will fit up to a large 9-inch wrist size. Even on my large 8-inch wrist, plenty of room on it, so you can see I can slide an index finger. This will easily fit an 8.5 to even a 9-inch wrist size, and we've got 10mm of micro adjustment, so that's good to have that 10mm of on the fly adjustment. There are enough removable links on the 6 o'clock and the 12 o'clock side of the bracelet to size this down to a minimum 6-inch wrist size, so 6 inches to a maximum 9-inch wrist size. Massive amount of variation, plenty of removable links on the 6 and the 12, which is good. However, the only negative is there are no half links in the bracelet, and these links are long. So that's something to bear in mind, because sometimes adding or subtracting one full link from this bracelet won't give the desired fit. A half link is necessary on the 6 o'clock or the 12 o'clock side. The other benefit of half links is it allows you to centralise the clasp, because sometimes when you remove links from the 6 or the 12 o'clock side, the clasp then sits off centre. So having a half link either side allows you to centralise it, and also a half link gives the desired fit, not too tight or not too loose. So San Martin could update this and add a half link on the 6 and a half link on the 12 o'clock side to better allow for fine tuning the fit, but however we do have 10mm of micro adjustment. Profiling of the clasp is excellent. It's not a thick, bulky micro adjustment clasp, which is often the case with low tier Chinese brands. They have ratcheting mechanisms, but the clasp then becomes too wide and too thick. It becomes bulky. And this is perfect curvature on it, regardless of whether you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist or a 7 to 8 inch wrist. It has a nice curve, doesn't stick too proud from the wrist, curves around it nicely. It's not too wide, it's not too thick, and it's not too long, even for a smaller 6 to 7 inch wrist. The proportions are excellent. Very similar proportions to a Rolex Glide Lock, which has perfected the proportions for all wrist sizes. So really it would just benefit from half links, but the clasp itself is comfortable, looks good, feels good, beautiful luster to it. Taper on the bracelet, as I've detailed, is perfection personified. 20 to 16 is the ultimate. It's the industry standard for good reason, because aesthetically it looks fantastic, comfort level is fantastic, beautiful luster to it. For a 39mm, it cannot be beaten. It's the perfect taper. 20 to 16 is sublime. So, comfort level and feel good factor of this piece are 10 out of 10. I absolutely love the Jian Zhan enamel dial, the way it graduates from lighter red in the centre to a darker red at the circumference where the chapter ring is. It's just gorgeous, it's mesmerising. As I've detailed, I previously reviewed the 42mm version of the SN0144, which had an orange dial. This red dial is better looking. It's the best of the Jian Zhan series. Absolutely gorgeous piece. The feel good factor of this piece, above all else, is sublime. I really like the proportions of it. 39 is suitable for collectors with a 6 to 7 inch wrist, and also collectors with a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches respectively. 39 really does fit all wrist sizes. Now, as I've detailed, it is also available in a 36 and a 42. I previously reviewed the 42, and really that's only suitable for collectors with a very large wrist of 8 inches plus. Even on my large 8 inch wrist, it did feel like a large piece which dominated the wrist with wrist presence. 39 is a better fit. Comfort level and feel good factor of this 39 version is better. The GX version is the ultimate. If you have a small wrist below 6 inches, say between 5 and 6, I recommend the 36mm version. This will still fit a 6 inch wrist, but if you have a lower than 6 inch wrist size, between 5 and 6, 36 will fit you better because it has a shorter lug to lug. But this 39, for a 6 to 7 inch wrist or a 7 to 8 inch wrist, it's perfection. Now, lug to lug measurement is compact, it's 46.4. It's acceptable, but they could have enhanced it by making it the perfect 48. Often referred to 48mm as the perfect lug to lug measurement, because 48 is the sweet spot that will fit all collectors' wrist sizes, regardless of whether you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist or a 7 to 8 inches respectively. So 46.8, it is 1.2mm, sorry, 46.4, it is 1.6mm below the perfect 48mm sweet spot, so it's compact. But this will benefit collectors with a smaller wrist size of 6 to 7 inches particularly, because at 46.4 it will fit a 6 to 7 inch wrist very well. With a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches, it still does fit okay, but a 48 would enhance it to the absolute peak of comfort level and feel good factor. But I like it. Nice compact case. The benefit is the flat Caseback, as I've detailed. This is, as you can see, has a nice curved undercut to the flanks, but we have a minimal gap because it doesn't have a large bubble back deep Caseback, and that reduces how tall this piece is on wrist. Just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus on it. Very low profile piece. Now, anything below 13mm is the sweet spot to easily slip underneath the shirt cuff. If you wear business shirts, you'll know that from my previous reviews. This is only 10.2. This is something I really like about this piece, how low profile it is. As I've detailed, often low-tier Chinese brands make the mistake of using a box top hat crystal to give a piece a vintage aesthetic. And yes, it does look like an acrylic vintage crystal then, but the problem is it adds 2mm of thickness to the piece. Therefore it's 13mm plus, because they then use the NH35A and a bubble back Caseback. It reduces the feel good factor and the comfort level. San Martin have got correct decision after correct decision here, because flat sapphire crystal, low profile flat Caseback, thin movement, the 9015, low profile flanks, they're not tall and slab sided. This is only 10.2. Nice, flat, low profile piece. Does have enough wrist presence at 39 for all wrist sizes. The only thing I would change, as I've detailed, is this could be enhanced with a V2 version if they had female pivoted end links, because we do have that large rectangular slab in the centre of the end link, and if it had a line across it, it would look aesthetically pleasing, but also it would allow the end link in the bracelet to pivot, because as you can see, there is a slight gap beneath the tips of the lugs and the end link in the bracelet because the links are quite long. Also, the centre section of the end link is large. If it were a female pivoted end link, it would allow for better fit, but it is okay due to the compact lug to lug of 46.4. So feel good factor is 10 out of 10, comfort level is 10 out of 10. The Jian Zhan red dial on this piece is sublime. It's absolutely mesmerising. 136 grams, which is a pleasant surprise because it has a long bracelet, which will fit up to a 9-inch wrist. I would expect this to be circa 140 to 150 grams, bearing in mind it's a 39 with a 20 to 16 taper and also a large micro adjustment clasp, which does add some heft to it. It's not 140 or 150, it is only 136, and that's with all the links in a long bracelet. So needless to say, even I would remove one link and that would reduce it to circa 130. The benefit of it being 136, comfort level of this is fantastic. It doesn't feel like a tall, thick slab of 316L grade stainless steel sitting on top of the wrist with a bracelet with too much meat. For example, if they'd used a 20 to 18 taper, it would add too much heft to it. This is 136. Anything below 150 is the sweet spot for a 39mm. Feels weightless on wrist. It actually feels like a very well balanced piece. The head of the piece balances the bracelet and clasp perfectly. I really like the look of it. Visually it has a beautiful luster to it. Nice large mirror polished bevels to the centre section and also the edges to the flanks. But the clasp itself also has a beautiful luster to it. And the large mirror polished bevel complements the bevels on the bracelet. This piece looks fantastic from every angle. It's one of the best looking San Martin pieces. It really is a masterpiece. We're looking at peak San Martin. Correct decision after correct decision. The only thing I would change is the addition of female putillar links. But other than that, feel good factor is 10 out of 10. Comfort level is 10 out of 10. And it just looks and feels like a great piece. Right, so let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. So this is BGW X1, and what that is BGW9, which you're all familiar with, that's blue, mixed with X1, which is white. The X1 adds potency to the exciter, so it's more potent, it's a whiter tone of BGW9, and it's called BGW X1 because it's a mixture of the two. I think San Martin have made the correct decision because sometimes with BGW9, even 5 to 6 layers, it has a deep blue tone to it. X1 has a purer white tone. The exciter is incredibly potent and it makes the Lume last for a long length of time. So by adding the white potency of X1 into the blue tone of BGW9, you get the best of both. You get the long-lasting performance of the exciter in X1 with the brightness of the BGW9. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it has not disappointed. This is stellar Superluminova performance. So BGW X1, we've got the blue tone of BGW9 mixed with the white tone of X1 to add potency to the exciter. Clearly 5 to 6 layers on the applied indices and clearly 5 to 6 layers on the alpha handset. Fantastic. Nice even coating and even application. 5 to 6 layers is the industry standard for good reason. It is optimum. And I'm pleased to see there are no cost-cutting measures because often low-tier Chinese brands have a tendency to use the cost-cutting measure of only applying 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 layers on the indices or the hands in order to reduce production cost per piece and therefore maximise profit margin per piece. San Martin don't cut corners with production costs like that. They always apply 5 to 6 layers on the dial, 5 to 6 layers on the hands. Stellar performance, perfect symmetry to the dial. They've even added a small index beneath the framed silver date window at 6 o'clock. So perfect symmetry rather than being an asymmetrical dial with a date window at 3. Legibility is good. One can clearly differentiate between the shorter hour hand and the longer minute hand. So performance is good. Now this is the benefit of using X1. That white potency in the exciter gives the Lume a longer lasting emission, and you can see it's slightly brighter than BGW9 in terms of the whiteness of it. So it's lighter blue than BGW9. The X1 adds the whiteness to it, and I really like the potency of the exciter. This is fantastic. I'm just going to charge it up again to its absolute maximum because I want the camera to autofocus on it and I want you to see the stellar performance. It's just fantastic. Just incredible. I really like the X1. BGW X1 is stellar performance. I think more brands should use it as an alternative to C3 or just pure BGW9. Adding X1 really does add something to it in terms of the brightness. Just fantastic. Symmetry is good. The legibility is good. The hands are correctly proportioned. We're looking at correct decision after correct decision. As I've detailed, this is peak San Martin. What you're looking at here is one of the greatest San Martin pieces ever made. The Jian Zhan is a masterpiece. Fantastic. Right, so let's discuss the movement used, which is one of my favourite aspects of the piece. So you'll know from my previous reviews, the Miyota 9000 Premium series of calibers are my personal favourites. The 9015 and the 9039 respectively are my favourites. This uses the 9015, which has been in service since 2009, so it's a reliable, well-proven workhorse Japanese-made caliber, and it's one of my personal favourites. 24 joules, it runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. As I've detailed, the benefit of it running at 4 Hz rather than 3 Hz as per an NH35A is the second hand has a nice smooth sweep to it. It doesn't stutter or judder around the dial. So, has hand winding and hacking, which use for complications. Quick set date complication works well, as I've demonstrated. 42-hour power reserve is perfectly acceptable. The stated accuracy of the 9015 is -10 to +30 seconds per day, so rather wide accuracy range. However, I'm pleased to report that San Martin are doing a good job of regulating the movements they're using. This one has been very well regulated. It's running at +2 seconds per day, which is incredible accuracy. +2 is actually chronometer accurate. So, to clarify, chronometer accuracy is -4 to +6 per day. San Martin are clearly regulating the 9015s they're using in 5 positions to attain +2 chronometer accuracy from a 9015. +2 is not that surprising from 9015. They are very easy to regulate to incredible accuracy. In terms of quality, I regard the 9015 as equal quality to a Solita SW200-1 or an ETA 2824-2. They are premium 9000 Miyota calibers, a level above the NH35A and NH38A respectively. So, correct choice at this price point. San Martin also deserve credit here because they could have used the cost-cutting measure to reduce reduce production costs per piece and maximise profit margin per piece. They could have used the NH35A, as so many low-tier Chinese brands do. But they didn't do that. They didn't use the NH35A and still retail this at €274 to maximise profit margin per piece. They used a premium grade of Miyota 9000 caliber. The 9015 is a level above the NH35A. Of course, that increases production costs and therefore reduces profit margin per piece. But this is still only €274 despite using a 9015. Now, microbrands use the 9015 at the €400 price point plus in the low tier and at the €500 plus price point in the mid tier, because mid tier is 500 to 5,000. So what we're looking at here is a mid tier level movement at a low tier price point of only €274. It's the kind of movement one sees in 400 and 500 euro pieces, so they deserve credit for not using the NH35A. Excellent choice. I like everything about it. 4 Hz gives a smooth sweep. Hand winding feels smooth. Hacking feels good. Setting the time feels good. Quick set complication. Everything about it is refined. Build quality, quality control, materials, finishing, accuracy are fantastic with the 9015. One of my personal favourites. One of the greatest Miyota movements ever made. So last I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch meets 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So, low tier piece, price point is €274. Yes, this is unquestionably excellent quality, and yes, it is unquestionably excellent value at €274. This is one of the greatest San Martin watches ever made. The Jian Zhan is a masterpiece. The dial alone fully justifies the price point of this piece. The gradient red Jian Zhan enamel dial on this piece is mesmerising. It really does look very similar to Jian Zhan porcelain. It's just beautiful. The colour-coded date wheel is nice attention to detail. 10.2mm thick is fantastic. They've got correct decision after correct decision with this piece. The micro adjustment clasp on this is one of the greatest micro adjustment clasps I've seen in the low tier. Looks good, feels good, works well, tolerances are good. Bracelet is absolutely beautiful. It's an example to other low tier Chinese brands of how to get build quality, quality control, finishing, perfect. Looks good, feels good, no sharp edges. Above all else, this piece is refined. Nice large bevels machined to the undercuts to the flanks. That deletes the sharp edges. Same applies to the bracelet. It doesn't have the characteristic sharp edges on the flanks, which San Martin pieces are known for. This is refined. If I had to choose one word, it would be refinement. The only one negative subjectively about this piece is the use of male end links, and this is subjective because some collectors might like the SN0144 series using these radius profiled male end links. I think female pitted links would just take it to the perfect level. There is no other negative to it. It's fantastic. It's the perfect daily wear piece for all wrist sizes at 39. I'm going to declare it a champagne watch for lemonade money. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the San Martin SN0144-GX Jian Zhan. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.